Hello, and welcome to South Asian Success. This podcast is focused on empowering, engaging, and connecting our community. I'm going to be talking to South Asian leaders who are putting culture at the forefront as they build companies, drive communities, lean into creativity, and build better. We hope you'll enjoy the journeys that we share on this podcast, journeys of individuals who are building success on their own terms with culture at the forefront. Hi there, my name is Pearl Bhandari and I'm the host of South Asian Success. I wanted to dial it back a little bit. The reason I was inspired to make South Asian Success, which is actually a community I've been running for 2 years, into a podcast is rooted in a special interview that I did in 2024. And it was actually during the Diwali season that I got to meet Akruti from Kulture Khazana. My typical work had been really focused on customer success, customer experience, and I really had everything kind of pointed to that direction. But when I met Akruti, we really connected on so much more, on her business growth and her purposeful design. I learned a lot from her. And I also learned that, wow, there are just so many people doing creative pursuits, interesting businesses. They're operators, they're practitioners, they're consultants, they're coaches, they're mental health professionals. And I wanted to spotlight our community. So I'm taking you back to 2024 to the Diwali season. We're going to celebrate light over dark again. And I want you to listen to Akruti's session. I think it is just so powerful and so impactful. Thank you for being a listener of South Asian Success. And thank you for following along here in this space. We look forward to sharing brand new content with you coming up soon. Hi, everyone. We are back after a little break talking to folks that are either impacting the markets or getting impacted by the markets. And it's about to be my favorite time of year, which, as many people know, is the Diwali season. For those that don't know, Diwali is the festival of lights and celebrated by over 1 billion people around the world. I last year had the chance to do a little bit of kind of research around how Diwali has impacted the markets and commerce. And I think the impact is going to be even greater this year. And I'm very lucky and glad to be able to chat with Akruti today, who's the founder of Kulture Khazana. He started Kulture Khazana. You told me, I forgot, it was 5 or 8 years?
2017.
17. Okay. A long time ago, 8 years ago. And I remember being early, somebody that saw your products and was very excited. But you've also had kind of a great trajectory of growth. And I love your story. Hopefully it will inspire other founders, right, that are out there really wondering, how are we going to grow? How are we going to scale our business? So let's talk a little bit about that and talk about your journey. But welcome, first of all. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much, Parul. I'm so excited to chat.
Same here. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Let's do a little personal sharing before we get started so everyone can get to know you. And how did you get to being the CEO and founder of Kulture?
It's all out of a need. I immigrated to America when I was 16, and I went to high school for a couple years. I moved to Buffalo, New York, and high school's tough anyways, but moving countries, and this is before social media, so I had no idea what America's like outside of some movies that I had seen, which it's not like that, what they show in the movies. And it was very hard. It was very tough integrating. It was very tough from the standpoint of also sometimes being singled out, made fun of. And I, of course, did well after that. I integrated, I went to college, got a job, got my MBA, got married. And then when I had my kid in 2017 is when I realized, no, now I'm raising this child here. I remember what I went through. I can't have him go through that, nor can I have him turn into someone who puts other people down for where they come from. So that's when my husband and I, we had an honest conversation, and I was a project manager at that point for a health insurance company. And we were able to take that leap, and I quit my job and started Kulture Khazana. But I started it as a book distribution company because I wanted speed. And I thought, you know what better than books? And for me to create something, launch it and market, all of that would have taken so long. And I was trying to fill a need now. And there was a gap in the book industry back then too. So I worked with a lot of publishers in India who had no distribution in United States. And then I curated the books. I must have read 600 books and picked the ones which were appropriate for children growing up in America because I wanted to be very intentional about the messaging in those books. And then, yeah, I was in business and worked with a lot of public libraries, with a lot of museums, with a lot of schools until COVID came. And then overnight, I had no business because nobody went to these places. They weren't buying indefinitely. And that's when I said, okay, I can either shut shop or I can give this one more try. I had always been like obsessed with Rangoli because that's my most favorite memory of Diwali, as we would make giant Rangolis. We would have like Rangoli competition in our front porch, my sister and I, and we got very competitive. So those were my favorite memories, and I couldn't do that with my son here. Just the weather, we have carpeted floors, like it's just not going to work out. So I thought, okay, what if I turn a giant Rangoli pattern, which is vibrant, beautiful, and turn it into a puzzle? And that's how then I launched a toy game puzzle company.
That's amazing. So, I mean, a couple of like interesting things in your journey, right? Like you actually took the leap. That's like the first thing that is actually surprising to me, not in a bad way, but many entrepreneurs start while they like are still doing their day job. They're trying to juggle. And you said like, this is important. I'm going to take the leap. So I mean, that's pretty cool that you were able to do that and actually say, hey, I'm going to like, I believe in this. I'm going to jump all in. The other thing that is really great is the evolution of the business. Because I think that many founders have, I mean, I honestly feel like I'm going through this all the time, is like we reimagine our business, right? You might have a great idea, you might have something that you start with, and it might fit that niche at the time, right? Or based on what you are needing, but some circumstances might change and you might have to pivot. And if you're able to be a successful company, you're making those pivots and you're still around, right? So that's very, very cool, and making those pivots thoughtfully. So thank you for sharing that story. I did not grow up in India, but I can totally relate to having that sense of just, something missing. And that's kind of like, honestly, why I do what I do, and why I love to write and put stories out there, because I think it is, something we still have room to fill the gaps. So
yes, we do.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's an awesome, great founder story too, right?
And I think you said something about the leap. That's also my personality. I'm either all or nothing. Like I had an option to continue working full time and get my MBA part time, but I'm like, nope, I'm going to quit and I'm going to do my MBA. So the same thing. As a person and my personality, I can't do that. I can do multiple things, but if I'm committed to something, I got to go all in.
Yeah, no, I love it. And to be honest, if you want to really succeed, I think you need to devote a lot of time, right? So if you do have to juggle life and family, it can be hard. So yeah, I think many people can relate to that. That's very cool. So tell us, like, what was it like when you became, I know the book distribution company, that part of the journey would you say you've moved on from that, or, maybe you do call yourself now like a toy and
yes.
game company, correct? Okay. So let's talk about that. When you made the shift to becoming a toy and game company and you had physical products, how did you sell them? What was that journey like? And what was, I guess, how were you getting orders? How are you getting the word out? Let's talk to people about that, because I think many early business founders, and, they're looking for what are the techniques that people employ for driving growth.
So I'll take a step back to when my business kind of was at a standstill with the book distribution and I was making the pivot. I knew I was making the pivot, and there is a lead time between you design, you manufacture, you get it. And I utilized that lead time to build community. And it came very organically. We were all at home. Everybody was on social media. And I didn't even think at that time that what I was building was going to help kind of launch this phase 2 of the company. But I am a classically trained dancer. I love telling stories. I used to do that for my son. And what I did is I kind of turned it into a story auntie. And I started doing those series on YouTube and on Instagram. And that started to create a sense of community. So when I finally had a product to share, people had already trusted me. There was this trust in this person who kind of knew what she was talking about, who understood the culture, who knew how to talk to the kids in their language to get them to understand culture. So those people showed up to purchase the product. And then it kind of snowballed where they were like, wow, we've never seen anything like this. Because until then, a giant Rangoli puzzle wasn't done before. So that was, and then people started using it as decoration. And then I had Montessori schools excited about it. So it truly started from building this community and then having that community rally behind something that I created, which was filling a need for them. And then, of course, I was selling, but majority of my sales came through my direct-to-consumer channel. And then after that, I expanded on Amazon and other partners. But that was the very early, sort of the launch phase.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's very cool because what you said is really important. You understood the market. You already kind of had a space in the market, and that's probably one of the hardest things, And I think like back to my book writing journey, that's although I have, friends, did I have a market of people that knew me as a writer? Not necessarily, right? Actually, I didn't even talk about it. So I think a lot of people were very surprised. I think those are what you did is what I hear a lot of people say about achieving goals. If you put your goals out there, or if you put yourself out there, you're more likely to achieve your goals. It's still something I struggle with, to be honest. But in a weird way, you probably did that. You weren't even trying, right, necessarily with Story Auntie, but you were putting yourself out there into the market, and you were saying, hey, like, come and see me for somebody that likes to talk about culture. And then it's a natural transition when you have something related to that. So that's a very cool thing. And I think a lot of, in my world, which is, I work in customer experience as like a primary kind of focus area. We often talk about, you have to know your customer, right? You can't really just guess. And if you're going into a new market, you have to do like survey data and research, or you have to like actually talk to them, and if you throw things out there, you may or may not get traction without having a base understanding of what the market needs and expects. So you kind of did that in a way, right? You took those steps, which is great.
And I built a relationship. Whoever those early 5,000, 6,000 people were, we had a strong relationship where they would send me messages how their kids watch Story Auntie before going to bed.
Oh.
They're asking, when is Story Auntie coming out with a new story? So it's almost like I was part of their homes before the product came out. And then it was just obvious for them. And then when parents bought it, they said, listen, Story Auntie made this. So the kids could connect. Now, of course, things look different, but that was the very initial. And I truly wasn't even thinking strategically that this is what I'm going to do. Because I don't think some of these things you can plan out. You just have to be giving in building a community and creating value for people.
Yes,
and that value will translate into something if it does.
Yeah. And you're speaking my language, because what we talk about is in customer experience is value, right? If there is a clear value that people achieve from your business, then they will come back and they will also grow and expand. And, to be honest, that's what you've probably seen too, is a lot of like repeat business, right? People that not only buy one time, they buy multiple times. It's interesting. So the world I work in is primarily technology and SaaS, but what we're seeing now is we are applying a lot of the principles from technology and SaaS into D2C, right? And B2C, right? Because what happens is there's no more a business that just wants to sell one thing one time, right? You're not just going to buy that one puzzle that one time, because you hope that buying that one puzzle and inspiring growth, that they're going to say, oh, well, what else is there, right? And what else can I expand into? So having that awareness and having that sort of ability to connect on value is the key, right, to drive that. Because if they get your product, we've all had these experiences, you get something and it's not what you expected. It's not to maybe your liking, and value is a perception a lot of times, right? You can't always like create value. You have to assume that the consumer is going to, create their own value. their understanding of values. So you have to actually make sure they achieve that. So it sounds like you did that, which is awesome. And then let's talk a little bit about like what's happening now. So you started to get into some of the bigger retailers, and I would love to kind of share with folks like what's the journey that you had on maybe starting what made you go, hey, okay, I know I need to be on some of these other .coms, right? The big ones, Amazon, and then I know we're here to also talk about some of the growth of this year with brands like Target. But tell us a little bit about that journey of where did you start there? Where did you kind of go first, and what were some of the outlets that you chose and why?
So that's a great question. My D2C was doing well, and I then expanded to Amazon, which is for most people, that's the natural progression, right? Because you can do FBA or something. And what happened with Amazon is Amazon did not understand the seasonality of my business.
Ah,
So Amazon understands Christmas seasonality, but Amazon does not understand, at least at that point, did not understand the seasonality of Diwali. So as I'm fulfilled by Amazon, I'm sending it to their distribution center. They capped the amount that I could send them. I was constantly running out of stock. So then I understood, okay, I need to be somewhere where I can control never running out of stock. If it happens, it happens, but at least I have some control over it. I'm not limited by that platform. And it just so happened that's when Maisonette, it's a boutique clothing toy online retailer, they approached me and I launched with them the first in I believe it was 2021. 2022, where I actively started seeking the bigger retailers, because now I had tried, tested, made my mistakes, everything with Maisonette. I understood, okay, this is something I can do. This also puts me in front of a whole another set of customers whom the cost of acquisition for me is so much higher. And I attended Toy Fair. That's where then I was able to build these relationships. And in 2022 came Target.com and came Nordstrom.com. Also, a friend helped me connect with a broker. So these two happened, and then came Walmart.com. And it just, once you get one.com,
yeah.
it's easier to keep snowballing, because once one retailer sees that, okay, they've taken a chance on you. And it's less taking a chance. It's also, do you have your supply chain all mapped out? Because with retailers, there are very strict SLAs. There are very strict testing guidelines where your product has to be tested. You have to provide testing certificates. It has to meet the toy industry standard. You need to have the back end, the electronic data interchange connection where your system can talk to their system, so the customer information can go back and forth. So when they see, okay, you've built this, which was an investment on my part, you've built this, then it's easier to go and pitch to other retailers saying, I already have an infrastructure. So I am not that risky of a proposition where your customers are going to be disappointed, where they may not get delivery on time, or they may get a product which is faulty or something. Like, we've got our QA and everything down. So I think it's taken a lot of those learnings and having great mentors along the way who've done it before.
Yeah, but you said something very important. It's like investing in the product, investing in the supply chain, obviously everything that goes with it, but like your tooling and your quality, your QA. I mean, to be honest, in the world of like startups, a lot of people don't have the ability to do it all the way. And you do see startups fail or suffer, not fail, but suffer when they have product issues, right?
Right.
If something gets delivered and the quality is not great. I mean, I'll be honest, I order my own books. Whenever I publish a book, I order them on Amazon. And I was like really upset because some of my books came all crumpled up recently. And I was like, what is this? I was like, this is making me look bad, right? It's not making them look bad. So, it's always good to know what's happening in that supply chain that you're putting your name on, right? And that you are going to actually be shipping out. So quality is a really, really important thing. And even when we think about customer experience, how quickly it can be eroded if there is poor quality, right? You don't want to be the brand that people are talking about in a negative way because something went wrong, right? You want
Yes.
to be the brand that people believe in or say, hey, this arrived and it was perfect, right? So yeah, those are some amazing, great points that you hit on. And sometimes it's difficult, but those are the key investments that can really level up your business. And it sounds like you did have success managing in these .com, like these kind of online marketplaces. Tell us what is happening now. Like, what is the next phase for you all? And how are you seeing that change and growth in the business?
So I have consistently grown in revenue for the past 5 years, and it's been slow and steady, but thank you. But
Congrats.
it's been very intentional because I also had my second child along the way, which I never took a maternity leave for, put her in a carrier and she packed boxes with me. But along the way, I built the infrastructure to continue to grow to a point where when the time is right, I can start scaling. And now we are at that point of scaling. So this year, we will have our first big nationwide shelf space with Target at 282 Target stores in October for Diwali. Target has a lot of these Heritage Month moments where they have a tower which is dedicated to something, and they're going to do it for Diwali. And 3 of my SKUs are going to be part of it at 282 Target stores. So that is all of a sudden you're playing in the .com space and you are sending to small toy stores to all of a sudden now you're scaling to 282 stores. Now, mind you, the quantity isn't that high because this is also a test, but that's a scale from one point to another. And I'm very intentional about this scale in making sure that I not only succeed, but I learn from it that, okay, what are the customers that are buying there? I am trying to meet my customers because I really, truly believe that primarily the moms who shop my products, there is an intersection of where they shop and the customers that walk into Target. There's a good intersection of that. It also opens you up to new customers to invite them into the brand and hope that this scale not only goes to more SKUs, more quantities, more stores with that retailer, but also helps expand into other retails. And so, yes, this truly is the first step towards scale. It's been extremely hard. Along the way, we've made every mistake possible with the operations, but that's something that I've learned now. There's a huge difference between growing and scaling, and the team and efficiencies you need for growth are very different than the team and efficiencies you need for scale. So once I'm done with this season, I will be putting in a lot of time and energy into building those efficiencies for future scale.
I love to hear that. I mean, I think that is an amazing thing that every business owner can learn from, right? No matter what your business is, that you take time to take stock of what is working and what isn't. And you literally have a physical product that you have to ship. So you're even, I think, even more tightly tied to that delivery.
Yeah.
It's true. It's a literal delivery. You said something really interesting about like meeting customers where they shop. When I chatted with you and you kind of said the same today, I think what kind of work have you done? I think I would love to understand on your understanding your customer, your personas, your segmentation. This is a lot of my work that I do is like early work with early companies is helping them to just, figure out who is my ideal buyer or ICP, as we call it, right? Ideal customer profile. So tell us a little bit about the effort that you have to put in or you have put in. And does it change, right? Does it change
Yeah.
like season to season? I'm curious.
I love talking about this. We can be two geeks. A couple years or 2.5 years ago, I started diving deep I was part of this program, which kind of forced me to, and thank God for that, to really dive into my customer personas and my ICP. Until that point, I thought, and I have a name for her, Nisha. Nisha is my ideal customer, and she's my only one persona who has some or the other South Asian roots, wishes to pass it on to her child or children, and certain income bracket, has every intention to do this, but doesn't have the time and is looking for something that fits her current lifestyle. So that's where we come in.
Yeah.
Check.
That's me. I'm Nisha.
And I interviewed a lot of people and I
Yes.
came up with this high level profile. I can picture Nisha. Like I know I could sit and draw. No one will understand that drawing, but I can. Then I started looking into, wait a minute, Target.com has brought in a whole another persona into the company. Her name is Brenda. Brenda is either neighbors with Nisha, or Brenda's kid goes to school with Nisha, or Brenda just loves dining out at Indian restaurants, but she loves trying on different cultures and passing it to her child as well. So for Brenda, I had never catered to Brenda. So I called Brenda my halo effect, where Nisha was referring me to Brenda. And that's how Brenda learned about us and started to put her faith in us. And that happened because of Target.com, Nordstrom.com, because I started looking at the customer data. Like, wow, 1/3 of my customers on these websites have now turned into non-South Asians. That says a lot. There's a market for it.
Yeah, that says a lot.
And so it just helped me understand that my market is not capped at what I thought it was capped at. It's much bigger than that. And I do have to double down on Nisha because Nisha is telling the Brenda for now. Rather than, I had a choice, right? Do I talk to Nisha and Brenda, or do I just keep talking to Nisha and trust that Nisha is going to keep referring us? And that's what I have done. I have doubled down on very clear messaging of I am an expert at this. This is what our company can fill the need for. And I do see even now on my direct-to-consumer website, I was just telling my husband yesterday, I'm like, I am seeing these names. And a lot of these names, they're not South Asians, but they're shipping to South Asians, meaning they're buying them as gifts.
Yes.
Probably. And secondly, I am seeing a lot of names where the first name is not South Asian, the second is. So they might be multiracial families. And this is the first time that I'm seeing them come to my website. So I just have to keep my messaging very strong and very to the point, talking about the value that we bring.
I love that. You're making me feel like a little bit, it's so interesting because I had the same experience, obviously not as far along in your journey with my children's books, but I noticed when I went to a book fair, different personas coming that were buying my books, right? It was the kind of the Nisha, the Brenda, and then it was like Brenda's family. It was like people that Brenda had talked to that said, oh, I got invited to a Diwali party. I'm going to buy this as a gift. And I was like, whoa, this is like a new kind of category, you know, which I loved. It was very cool to see.
Yeah.
And I love that you did this work. And I think for all the founders that are listening, it's like, take the time, do the persona work. I always tell them it might change. Your persona on day one for your book distribution may have been Nisha, but it might have been a different version of her, you know, a different type of consumer. So I say, oh, it might change, and it's okay. You can change your ICP, hopefully not drastically because your whole business, you know, might have to change with that. But hopefully you take stock of your growth and that persona. And then you can build journeys around it, right? You have new customers, new journeys, new kind of insights to glean. It really is an enriching experience.
And you know what? Something that I didn't share is I also started very intentionally observing children with our products.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, I mean, Nisha and Brenda are buying it, but who are they buying it for? If they don't enjoy it, the kids, I won't have a repeat customer.
Yes.
And kids are very honest.
Very.
So I started intentionally going to certain events a year where I may not make money on tabling or something, but that is I call it my paid customer research. I go there, I will, like the museums. I think before this chat, I was telling you I will be at the Strong Museum, I will be somewhere else, and I will be at the Smithsonian Museum. But I was also at Brooklyn Children's Museum earlier in the year. And when I have a table and I see the way children come from all different backgrounds, they interact with the product, it helps me understand A, their love language, which is play. B, it does not matter about the culture you're representing in there. Kids are going to learn it, but all they want to do is have fun. And if what you've created is fun for them, they will end up learning what you've set out to. But if it's not fun, you've lost them.
Yeah. No, I love it. There's another persona, right? That's the user, the actual person that's going to use the product. I love it. Actually, I will say though, I feel like adults are personas for your products too, because I know one day we all sat and did one of your hardest puzzles. It was like this one puzzle you released that was really hard.
It is
We
hard.
sat
I
and
know
did
which
it
one.
all day. You know which one I'm
It's
talking
got
about? I can't.
peacock outline.
Yeah, it's
Yes, yes.
beautiful. It took us all day while we watched a Hindi movie at home with with the
Hmm.
grandparents. It was actually a family activity. It was very fun. But I think we were more intense doing it than the kids were
Hmm.
because we were like, we have to solve this. So if
Yes.
you see that puzzle, it's a great adult one too. It really worked our mind. Okay, we're about to be here finished on time, so let's end with something um kind of maybe a little bit in the spirit of the volley, right? So
Hmm.
something to really share about overcoming obstacles and light over dark, right? Like what were some of your challenges if you could share? Because I always love to hear, we love to hear the positive stories, but tell us some of the challenges and how have you worked to overcome those challenges and how has that almost made your business stronger? Would love to hear if you have a story about that.
Sure. So one of my most favorite quotes, and I always joke that if I ever wrote a book, the title would be No Means Not Yet.
Oh, I love that.
The number of times I've heard no. And there may have been times where I've gone and cried, but then what I tell myself is that just means not yet. And it's happened in so many aspects. Even with this launch at Target shelves, it's 3 years in the making. So imagine the number of years that I kept pitching and the response was no. And that goes for other retailers. That goes for a lot of the opportunities. Even as simple as sometimes an opportunity to just present. And I guess if I had to give you a very challenging time, it was these past 10 days when we were trying to get our products on the truck to go to Target has its own logistics. And we've hit every roadblock that someone can imagine. I came home one day, we had to turn the truck away because the truck didn't have enough space. Now
No.
imagine you've worked so hard 3 years and the truck shows up and you're like, we can't. I came home. I was just so dejected. My son goes to me. He calls me Meme. Meme, you look like you're going to cry. And I'll never
Oh.
forget this conversation. I said, I might. He goes, Meme, don't you just feel like giving up? I said, that's the funny thing. That's not even an option in my head. I
Oh.
don't ever feel like giving up because what I'm doing is so important. I might cry today in front of you. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to start to work again and see how I can make it happen. So I
Oh.
think it's that belief where no means not yet and quitting is not an option. That doesn't say that I haven't had failed products. That is again business sense, where then you're like, okay, I'm not going to put marketing money behind this because it just doesn't have product market fit.
I love that.
But
Words that I love use every day.
like you need to pivot from that. Pivot is
Yeah.
is very different than completely quitting. So yeah, I guess those are some of the things that I truly believe in. And in the spirit of Diwali, I do think that goodness overcomes evil. And if you do something with a lot of pure intention, no matter how hard the journey is, and you have the resources, the willpower, and the persistence to stay the course, it's going to pay off.
I love that. That is a really just an amazing sentiment to close this conversation on because I don't think there is anything more uplifting than conviction, right? And belief in what you're doing and just passion, right? So thank you for sharing this amazing story. And I think this will resonate with many different people. And I think that we always think of business paths as very linear, right? But you showed us that businesses are a journey. Doing something you love is not going to just be the first thing you think of and it'd be perfect. It might be,
Yeah.
but it might be you have to learn and pivot along the way. So
Mhm.
I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. Where can people find your products? Let's just close on, kind of it's the season now, so hopefully we're going to all be shopping. We obviously know 282 Target stores, and what are the other kind of places folks can look?
So our website, culturekhazana.com, and you can follow us on Instagram, which is culture_khazana, amazon.com. We're also on Target online, so target.com. We're on nordstrom.com. We're on walmart.com and also on Etsy. So we're everywhere. You choose
Amazing.
where you want to shop and you will
Choose your
find us.
outlet.
But yes.
Where that is the coolest thing as a South Asian parent. Like I love to just find things fast and easy. So Thank you for having the options for folks that don't have a lot of time and just want to get the coolest things for their family and friends. So, well, it was wonderful to chat with you. I really appreciate the time and look forward to sharing this out with the community and talking further.
Thank you. Same here. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali. Thank you for listening to South Asian Success. If this episode resonated with you, we hope that you'll share it with a friend or someone else who could resonate with it as well. And if you love what we're doing and building, please do rate us on whatever podcast method you stream on. Any reviews will help us grow and improve this platform. And if you are interested in joining us or talking more about your journey, please be sure to reach out. Take care.